Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you a social-political change campaigner, a Pan-Africanist, a dynamic preacher, and author. I hereby present Emmanuel Pamidele on stage!
Thank you. Fellow Africans, by personal research, I discovered that a man's outlook and behavior cannot be separated from the state of his mindset. In other words, as a man thinks, so also is his behavior and outlook on life. This indicates that the present state of our continent is a clear evidence of our mindset. This brings me to the first part of this speech, which is servant and saboteur. There are usually two categories of personalities in every position of responsibility. Whichever category of personality you find in a place determines the situation of the place. The social environment of a place projects the image of the category of personality. In such a place, it is either a servant or a saboteur. The scripture says, "By their fruit we shall know them." The African situation today reflects the fact that saboteurs most of the time are the ones in key positions in our continent. I discovered that the oil of sanity and decency required in positions of responsibility is just very little. The amount of fuel in a car, to a very large extent, determines how far the car will go. The state of our nation and continent today is an indication that the oil of sanity and decency have run out. Nigeria's independence is barely 52 years, and the situation of the country has gone so bad that the frustration and hopelessness of it is obvious in the lives of majority of Nigerians. Almost 25 years after the departure of the colonial masters, the situation of things are getting worse by the day, despite the discovery of crude oil and other resources that are generating billions of dollars for the nation. The more our income, the more poverty and suffering are on the increase, because of saboteurs that presented themselves to be servants. Most ordinary Nigerians would have preferred the colonial masters continue to rule us, so long as they have abolished the slave trade. After all, the colonial masters would not want them to go hungry, because productivity requires physical power. In addition, a hungry man is an angry man that can easily revolt against their authority. The colonial masters will provide good roads because they wouldn't want to die by road accident. They would not want the breakdown of power supply and maintain the street light so that they can walk freely at night. They will see critically to the environmental and industrial pollution in order to avoid health breakdown. They will develop the sporting sector so that they can win many trophies. The colonial masters will make sure that they cater for the oil-producing region, as they will consider the security of their staff during exploration, and the issue of kidnapping of their staff may not even come up at all. Finally, they would like to avoid international criticism and possible conspiracy by the people they are governing. These are the possible basic infrastructure that the colonial masters would have put in place had it been they are still ruling Africa. The colonial masters' strongest weapon is mental ideology and not gun. They will first study the people's mentality and then will tackle it with the required idea to make the people to obey effortlessly. They resort to weapons only when a mental ideology fails. The way and manner we govern ourselves is worse than that of the colonial masters, with constant use of force to silence the people's voice. President Barack Obama of the United States of America said in his speech during his visit to Ghana that the future of Africa lies in the hands of Africans. However, with the continuous leadership of saboteurs, a bright future is certain. We must realize that even during the slave trade, our people are the very traps foreigners used to take some of our people into slavery. They enticed them with what they thought would captivate their interest most. The decision makers are the problem of Africa, while others follow. This is because the decision makers did not give other Africans the reasons to believe in Africa and to contribute their quota to the development of Africa. Americans can and are ready to die for America because their decision makers gave them the reason to do so. After many decades, the same saboteur mentality is very much prevalent in our continent, Africa. Various kings and their council of chiefs are this first set of saboteurs used by the slave marketers. Traditional rulers and their ruling councils are supposed to be servants of the people and not saboteurs. Let us now come to the 21st century point of view in assessing the modern system of governance, as in the president, governors, local government, chairmen, and so on. Sabotaging is the order of the day in all these tiers of government. In fact, it is more or less entrenched in the very fabric of our society. For instance, most stolen wealth sunk into the hands of government of other countries with the help of saboteurs. While many people are dying in Africa because of this foolishness, I wonder when African leaders and citizens will actually come into a rightful way of thinking that will bring about a sustainable development. It is high time we channel a new direction in life. We should adopt a conservative lifestyle and begin to affect people's lives positively. We should dump this idea of oppressing the needy that some people considered fashionable. What are we celebrating? What are we celebrating is the question I keep asking every year that Nigeria celebrates the anniversary of our political fabric of our society. For instance, most stolen wealth sunk into the hands of government of other countries with the help of sabotage, a rightful way of thinking that will bring about a sustainable development. It is high time we channel a new direction in life. We should adopt a conservative lifestyle and begin to affect people's lives positively. We should dump this idea of oppressing the needy that some people considered. What are we celebrating? Masters did not want them to live and govern themselves the way they wanted to. Now, the colonial masters have taken their hands off the African affairs. So it seems by the celebration of political independence, and left Africa to fashion out a plan and be governed by Africans themselves. As a matter of reality, Africans have shown their colonial masters the reason they wanted to be sovereign is to oppress their fellow citizens, kill and destroy public infrastructure, imprison people indiscriminately, and drastically loot their nation's treasury. Therefore, fellow Africans, what then are we celebrating as a continent? Are we celebrating a collective underdevelopment and virtually stagnant economies since the independence of our various nations? Are we celebrating the numbers of graduates roaming about the streets of our nations without jobs? Fellow Africans, are we celebrating inaccessibility to bank loans as to enable our people to start viable and small-scale businesses? Are we celebrating the numbers of children that are perishing every year due to corruption and negligence on the part of the government? Are we celebrating the numbers of mothers and children that die at childbirth daily from avoidable causes due to poor medical facilities? Fellow Africans, are we celebrating the numbers of old men and women retirees that are dying of starvation and hunger after many years of serving their various nations? Many of those retirees die in the process of waiting to collect their gratuity, while those that have access to the nation's treasury are embezzling the money big time. The blood of these retirees will be required from them. Are we celebrating the rate of damages we have been able to inflict on our nation's psyche? Are we celebrating the uncertain future of the coming generations of Africans? Are we celebrating the rates of our individual, social, and governmental failure? Fellow Africans, are we celebrating scarcity in the midst of our abundant God-given natural resources? Fellow Africans, why then are we celebrating political independence anniversary? I agree that we should thank God for freedom from slavery and for protecting us. This alone is worth celebrating, but we need much more than a system. We should aspire to live with impact, fulfillment, self-actualization, and nation building. We should make use of our natural endowment from God. It is high time we stop putting blames on others as being the brain behind our misfortunes. Some of us say in our private discussions that the Westerners instigate African nations against each other, and that they also sell weapons to factional parties in exchange for resources or cash. Does it mean that Africans do not have a mind of their own to discern between evil and good? Even if some people try to cause division among us, we should be able to resist them and their divide to rule strategy, which I term divide to get what they wanted strategy. This is a strong reason for us to have a common voice against which no one can prevail. Actually, no nation can exist without support from another, but not to the extent that one nation should be the one determining what obtains in another. Those people that are encouraging African leaders to steal the people's money and to take it abroad are not to be blamed. But some of our leaders in different categories are already willing to steal. An event happened some time ago about a governor in the Nigeria's oil-rich Bayelsa state, where the governor took some millions of pounds sterling into the United Kingdom, but the immigration officers discovered him at the airport. They arrested the governor, and after a while, we heard that the governor, disguised as a woman, beat the very tight security apparatus and escaped from the United Kingdom back to Nigeria. The money he took to the United Kingdom did not escape from the United Kingdom authority. This is just one of several cases. What madness is more than this? When people have not gotten enough, yet some people are taking the little on ground abroad. The Economic and Financial Crime Commission under Malam Nuhu Ribadu did a good job in this direction by bringing some people to justice. Had it been that the governor is a terrorist, I strongly believed that he would not be able to escape from the United Kingdom authority. But the numbers of people that are dying because of stolen nations' wealth are more than that of the terrorist attack. Africans, wake up. In a book I read, the author wrote about a certain white man whom she met in the flight in one of our trips abroad. This white man said so many horrible things about Nigeria, as if he was never going to come back again. Fortunately, the writer met the same man in another flight a long time after they met for the first time. It means that the white man does not like us as a people. All he liked is the honey and not the pot of honey. Nevertheless, he cannot get the honey without getting close to the pot of honey. It means that he does not like our system and our society, but the opportunities that obtain in our nation. I am not surprised that the white man does not have value for us as a people, because some of us did not have value for ourselves. He does not like our nation because we made it unlikable. He said horrible things about our nation because we made it look horrible. A friend sent me an email which reads thus: Do Nigeria exercise a true democracy? Is our country mature enough for political independence, or should we invite our colonial masters to force some senses into us? There was an attached video of an event where men of Nigerian Navy beat a woman mercilessly simply because her car was in the way of their boss's car. This incident happened in Lagos in November 2008. The matter became a nationally celebrated matter of human rights defense. The sender of the email asked, "Is this democracy?" She further implores those who can do one thing or the other about it to bring the culprit to book by being caught, martialed, and dismissed from the Nigerian Navy. Can you see how oppression and injustice has become a tradition in our society? Is this the reason why we ask for political independence? Is it so that we can have the free chance to demonstrate in human attitude towards ourselves. The true meaning of democracy in Africa is the government of the people, by the people to oppress, cheat, and steal the people's wealth, and so on. Now, is it the Westerners that told those naval officers, led by one Arogundade, to beat that hapless woman? They stripped her naked, using guns bought with our tax money. This is something that does not and can hardly happen in Western countries. How then do we expect the Westerners or outsiders to treat us with value when we ourselves do not treat ourselves with value? Fellow Africans, why then are we celebrating political independence anniversary? Political independence anniversary can only be worth celebrating only if we can show our colonial masters the true dividends of independent continent. For how long will we continue to live under the atmosphere of injustice, oppression, and bad leadership, torture, and fear? It is high time we come together and pass across our memorandum for change in every facet of our system. Now is the time to put a stop to the dehumanizing practices in our system. The damages we have done to our continent are enough. I'm hereby pleading to us as a continent, individuals, and as a nation to turn a new leaf and put on the true spirit of patriotism. Let the police do their job with dignity. Let the warders stop the inhuman treatment of the inmates. Let a stop come to various abuses in our institutions of learning. Let the court boys and girls resist evil drive and embrace good for the good of themselves, their continent, and the future to which they belong. Let the court boys and girls challenge their strength and courage towards transformation and nation building, and not towards oppression and destruction. Let our lecturers be reasonable and stop various abuses and oppression in our institutions of learning. Let our justice department be reasonable in their services, having it in mind that someone up there, God, the judge of all, will bring them to justice someday. Let our civil servants be civil servants and not saboteurs. Let our military men stop using their profession as a means to demonstrate inhuman conduct. Let our pastors and imams return back to the drawing board. Let our politicians be polite and stop looting. Let every militant group renounce violence and embrace dialogue in the interest of their nation, a place they can call their own, and in the interest of their fellow citizens and the generations to come. I charge all Africans at home and abroad to stand up and say enough is enough. We must stand up so that our people and the generations to come can feel safe on the streets and in their various institutions of learning. Most Africans abroad have decided to stay permanently there and not bother to return home. Even they feel unaccepted, but at least feel safe. Let us start celebrating change that brings hope, the kind of change that will portray a new Africa, such as will guarantee the future of the coming generations of Africa. You and I can be opposed of this change. We should aspire to change as individuals and get more people to share our vision. We need nation builders for stable development of our nation. Nation building requires a lot of sacrifice and commitment. These virtues are lacking in most individuals, especially in our government officials. Every nation builder has a lot to let go and a lot to offer. No one can really be a successful nation builder without being ready to pay the price involved. The scripture says, whoever wants to build a house must first count the cost to know if you can finish it before it starts the process of building. So many people have in mind to be nation builders, but cannot finish successfully due to some emerging challenges around them, which they could no longer handle. For this reason, they decide to join the bandwagon if they cannot beat them. Some people are discouraged in the process of becoming nation builders because they dwell on the bad behavior of the people around them and some government officials. One man can change the destiny of a people and a nation. Be convinced in yourself. Some people around you will buy your vision, and the people of like minds will congregate with you and continue to multiply. A nation builder must not have the mind of joining them, even if cannot beat them. A nation builder must be helped to stand his ground, no matter the challenges that may rise up against him. Now, fellow Africans, at home and abroad, here is a plea for nation building. Our continent is lying prostrate in waste. The walls of our continent are falling. The economic wall, the wall of security and justice, the wall of peace and unity, the wall of prosperity and orderliness are falling down. We should be Nehemiahs of our time and of our continent. We are the tools that God has chosen for change. It is not too late. There is a saying that to be late is better than never. Our case is remediable. It is not too late. Let us arise and come together under the auspices of a common voice as a continent to build up the dilapidated prosperity of our continent. You and I must have one way or the other responsible for the present condition of our continent. Now is the time for change. Let us go back to the drawing board and fashion out plans that will enhance progress, prosperity, and development of our continent. Let us stop depending on other nations for financial aid, despite our enormous resources. What is the problem with us as a continent? I just cannot find an answer to this question. Maybe someone out there can help. Fellow Africans, the roof of our house is leaking. Our goods and services are getting deteriorated as a result of the leakage. We have become an object of scorn and a byword to those that are passing by. They say among themselves, why is it that this highly endowed continent is wallowing in poverty and starvation? They also reasoned among themselves that we must have been caused. No, we are not caused, but our mindset is the reason for the mess. Now is the time for change. Fellow Africans, I want you all to know that it is only a foolish child fashion out plans that will enhance progress, prosperity. Now is the time for change. Let us go back to the drawing board and where is it responsible for the present condition of our continent. Now is the time for change. It won't be and development of our continent truly habitable. Now is the time. Only a small percentage of our people have a sense of preserving our future by saving today for tomorrow. If we are in the habit of preservation, our nation will not be in the present state of shambles. It is high time we channel a new direction in life and embrace this ideology of change. Moreover, fellow Africans, there is no better time other than now to decide our future through a change of mentality from being saboteurs to becoming servant leaders and responsible citizens. Let us have a look at China, with the fastest growing economy in the world. They have more population than Nigeria and the whole of Africa. Yet, the sense of coordination and reasoning are not lost among them. Someone said, it is because we are too many in Nigeria. That is why we cannot coordinate ourselves together to make progress. By their calculation and estimation, therefore, Nigeria should be divided. Our population is not our problem, but the selfish and squandering mentality of some of our leaders, and many of us as well. We must learn to be good followers and challenge our leaders to lead well. Africa has all that it takes as a continent to be great, but we just do not make use of what it takes to be great. This is why we are still far behind in making progress as a continent. We are the Nehemiahs of our time. Do not go about looking for them. Decide to be one. Recruit more that are ready to join the crowd of growing Nehemiah. Hold your focus tight. Fellow Africans, I am like the voice of one that is crying in the wilderness. Come one, come all. Let us rebuild our collapsing Africa. Now is the time. The reality is that we are not ignorant of the fact that we are victims of exploitation, both at home and abroad. Those people that have never been to Nigeria before are aware of the enormous resources available within the economy of our nation. They are aware of how, up to this time, investors are unduly exploiting our citizens without restraint to enrich their pocket. They are aware of how wasteful we can be by dumping the inheritance of our nation and continent into maxed accounts in foreign lands. Most foreign-owned companies in Nigeria do not even pay tax. They pay a certain percentage to some citizens that usually cover up the rest. Even some of those companies who claim to be paying tax, if you take time to verify them, you will discover that they are not paying up to the expected rate. Those foreign-owned companies will see us as a wasteful and senseless people because they will rather guide their national resources jealously than dash it out foolishly. There's a saying among the Yoruba people in Nigeria that may the fools never become wise, so that through their foolishness, the wise may continue to prosper. The moment we become wise, they will automatically go into recession. Their prayer will be that change should never take place in our system so that they can continue to feed fat on us. The mindset of most of our leaders in Africa is just very narrow. They do not mind to throw away great treasure just to satisfy their present desires. They lack the mentality of future planning. They just want to feed well today. Tomorrow does not exist in their dictionary. No wonder that our continent is in such a despicable situation, despite the billions of dollars being generated from petroleum and other resources. The reason is that the money is returned to where it came from through the expatriate. Government officials, as well as the politicians, also take some back to the foreign accounts. The bottom line is that these saboteurs make sure that they take away the gains of our continent and respective nations from the rest of us, and only a few of them have access to it. Every other nation preserves what they have, but we continue to squander ours. Fellow Africans, I never stop wondering when the fever of squandering that has eaten deep into the very fabric of our society will have a cure. Moreover, I've never heard of a specialist doctor that can cure such a disease that has plunged Africa into our present state of pity. If we refuse to cure this disease now, then there are disastrous days ahead for our continent. The renewal of our mindset is the only cure to the fever of squandering and mismanagement. I therefore charge all Africans anywhere to unite to make our country and our continent truly great. Moreover, no system anywhere in the world begins to work automatically, but some people dedicate themselves with a lot of sacrifice and commitment in order to make it work. If some of the countries Africans are rushing to for better life today did not have team spirit to make their system work, how then can those basic opportunities which Africans enjoy in those countries be provided for? Most Africans are carrying the mentality of individuality and self-pursuit, which stems from some of our leaders and is responsible for the present situation of our continent, Africa. Moreover, a continent is not without people. People make up a continent. Likewise, Africa consists of people. Therefore, if we say we do not care about Africa as Africans, It means that we do not care about the people. This is the exact footsteps of some of our past leaders and even the present leaders, which we need to erase and make good footsteps for people coming after us. We need to channel a new direction for progress and stability of our continent, either socially, economically, and as well as bring our people to the knowledge of godliness. Because the products of godliness are positive characters, which are love, respect for others, equal distribution of resources, as well as kindness and selfless service. Going back to history, many countries with economic prosperity today face their problems in time past, but they put away their differences of every kind and agree on a common voice for positive change. Your contribution at any level for progress matters. And adage says, little drops of water makes a mighty ocean. So also, your little drops of ideas and care can make a better Africa that we are all looking forward to have. A scripture says, a kingdom is not judged by words, but by the demonstration of the kingdom power. Likewise, Africa as a continent cannot be great by just words, but by demonstration of action. It is high time we dump the mentality of individuality and self-pursuit and put our strength and energy together to make our continent great. Let every one of us contribute our quota in knowledge, skills, even financially, to our immediate environment. I know that there is extra strength and courage in every African. The courage with which Africans dare death, trying to get to a seemingly hopeful place, such as Europe, yet not sure if they would get there. Fellow Africans, let us arise once again to make use of the courage with which we took our respective nations back from the hands of foreign invaders, to as well take it back from the hands of internal looters and destroyers. It is high time we put our strength and courage together to give Africa a befitting and glorious place among all other continents of the world. Our youths are our nation's future. Nothing good is actually certain for any nation that does not care about our youth population. The youths are the future of every nation. For a nation's future to be secure, the empowerment of the youths should be a major priority. They will determine whether the future will bring peace or war, reconstruction or destruction. A Yoruba adage says, and I quote, "One who is building an empire and refuses to train his children, these untrained children will destroy the empire that was built." The reason is that these untrained children cannot be able to manage the empire that was built. So also, I get scared about the future of Africa and my country, Nigeria, because of the high level of negligence of youth development by saboteurs in government and various business owners. Those saboteurs are responsible for the pitiable condition of our respective nations in Africa today and are already destroying their future. Those saboteurs refuse to promote the sports in our schools as it used to be. They make sure that teachers are handicapped from performing excellently in classes because they are already demoralized. Government hold some teachers several months of salaries. Most public schools in Africa are mere skeletons. The learning environment are usually not conducive. The chairs and desks are not sufficient for the students' population and not good enough. Some classrooms cannot protect the students against the torrential rain. The schools that claim to have libraries have them as almost empty. There are no books to engage the students in reading as to distract them from social vices. How many people can take their children to private schools with the state of the economy. Most parents have diverted those hours they usually dedicate to their children. Those parents return home late at night, very tired. They would not even be able to ask their children how they spent their day or take time to notice any psychological changes in them. Yet, those parents still not able to meet up with their children's needs. Some children have to either hawk wares or become farm laborers to augment whatever their parents can afford so that they can go to school. Moving vehicles knock down some of them in the process of hawking, while some people kidnap them for trafficking and other dirty purposes. Some of them are sexually abused, while some others are initiated by bad gangs. Despite all their efforts, some of them are still not able to complete their schooling. They eventually become dangerous and constitute nuisance to their respective neighborhoods. Those that manage to continue schooling have to think of how to pass their exams so that their many years of efforts and suffering will not be in vain. Those that cannot cope would rather cheat than fail their exams and have to move forward in life. Those students caught cheating during the exams are usually expelled. Therefore, they will find a way to unleash their frustration on the innocent citizens through armed robbery and other social vices in order to have what to live on. Most students that manage to complete schooling but end up without employment and do not receive any welfare benefit from the government can become another category of dangerous people to the society. When caught for any social vices, some people met out jungle justice to them immediately, while some others are sentenced to prison by the court of law. Some of them died during shootout with the police. The ruling elites, who are the root cause of all this evil, by robbing the masses of what belong to them, are going about to enjoy maximum freedom, respect, and protection. If I have to break down further the negative effect of the corrupt practices of the political elites and their accomplices, you will see reasons to show some measure of compassion to those caught in most social vices. I am not by any means trying to justify their conducts, but for every action, there must be a reaction. As from October 1st, 1960, Nigeria's independence, up to this time, every head of governmental organs should be brought to justice. Abuse of political office has to end. Political offices or any position of responsibility at all call for accountability to the people. No one should use these positions of responsibility to demonstrate the usually gross irresponsibility. Now is the time for us to decide what the future will bring. Our youths should be the basis for this decision because some of the lawlessness and insecurity in our continent today is as a result of our decision-makers' nonchalant attitudes towards youth development and empowerment. If something is not done fast, then the worst is yet to happen. I also admonish the youths to resist evil and use their time to think of what they can do for themselves as well as for their continent. As a people, we should stop chasing shadows and learn to address the root cause of our problems. For instance, chasing armed robbers all around the place is not as effective as curbing political robbers. As soon as they sentenced or kill some of those caught in social vices, others are warming up. Eradication of social vices in our society can never be possible as long as corrupt practices continue. Fellow Africans, let us revive our dying future through the renewal of our mindset. If we refuse to do so now, then we cannot avoid the impending danger that is swaying over the atmosphere of our continent. This danger is like a cloud of rain that has reached its fullness and is about to pour heavily. We must avert it. If we allow the hard pour of this evil, houses will become bushes, blood will flow like streams on the streets of our continent, and vulture may become a national bird. A nation that forgets God will usually end like this. Although Africans proclaim being religious, but the evidence of the fear of God in our midst is almost nowhere to be found. Upright conduct that will make people's lives better is lacking in our polity. God is not pleased when some people deny others of their rights. God is not pleased with the past and present decision makers who have and are still busy looting the treasures of our dear continent, Africa. I pray that the 14 days of danger never come. Those who think that their future is secured through wealth acquired from government or political offices will not escape nemesis. I do not think we need prayers to avoid the impending days of agony. What we actually need is a real change on the part of our decision makers. We need such a change that will motivate the followers to enroll for change as well. We need such a change that will give everyone peace of mind and able to sleep with their two eyes closed. We need such a change that will guarantee the future of our youths. We need such a change that will enable every citizen to drive around freely and at any time without the fear of kidnapping and armed gangs attack. We need change that will make the past and present decision makers to return to the nation's treasury, that which they have unjustly acquired. Only change can put an end to every nonsense and insecurity in our society and avert the impending days of danger. Only change can make us concentrate on the youths, knowing that they are the future of our dear continent, Africa. Clamor for change. I am happy to be one of the Africans of this generation with passion for my continent. I urge the Africans of this generation to be possessed with passion for change in Africa's situation. I want us to be a generation recognized by the generations to come after us based on our good work and moral impact. Let us take a more direct route towards greatness and progress. Let this generation of Africans mark the ends of decades of waste and the beginning of a remarkable journey to fruitfulness and prosperity of our dear continent. Africans abroad have seen the world's inequality than those that did not go abroad. They had a chance to see the clear difference between our continent and their braves abroad. I hope we will take these inequalities as a challenge to contribute our quota to our various countries and to resolve the gap between Africa and the advanced world. However, most of our leaders have seen these inequalities, but they never bring any positive result out of their experiences. We can make a difference. Even the Africans at home who have never stepped out of Africa are at least aware of the inequalities. For us as Africans, let the challenge be the same on how we can do the most good for our great continent with the resources that we have. I wonder how many dreams became shattered, knowledge wasted, visions unfulfilled, and potentials that has gone down to the grave with their possessors because of some set of prodigal Africans at the helms of our field in the past and at the present. We can still save the existing new dreams, visions, potentials, and knowledge from down. We can make it our priority to discover and make more of them to materialize through a renewed mindset. I believe that every life has equal value, and if we all believe the same thing, then it's revolting to be aware of the fact that some lives are seen as worth saving and others are not. Many of our leaders and rich Africans do not believe that life for us has equal value. If they do, they would not have taken what belongs to Africa into foreign account, while the lives of many Africans waste daily. Let us not forget that the blood of Africans who had gone into untimely grave because of the wealth they acquired for themselves are crying for revenge. If they escape it here on earth, they cannot escape it in heaven. Fellow Africans, I am optimistic that we can make a change. I'm directing this statement to the skeptics among us as a continent and as a people who claim that there's nothing we can do to clean up the bad practices. They said it has been part of our system since the beginning and will be with us to the end. I completely disagree with their claim because I foresee a new Africa. Most of us, at one time or the other, must have seen tragedies that broke our hearts. We did nothing at all about them. It is not because we did not care, but because we did not know what to do. If we do, most of us must have acted. I implore you to start now and from somewhere. If you want to inspire people to participate in a nation-building initiatives, you have to show an approved impact that will trigger them to participate in the same cause. I believe that this work will dare you to rise up and act. If it offends you in any way, please do not take it as an offense, but as a challenge to make a positive change, that its impact will continue even after you are gone. Remember, God allows you to be alive at such a time as this. So let the people around you and let Africa feel your impact positively. In conclusion, fellow Africans, let us start celebrating a continent free of bloodshed and war. Let us start celebrating a continent free of starvation and poverty. Fellow Africans, let us start celebrating a continent with prosperity and hope. A continent where dreams are realized and potentials are no longer going down the drain. Fellow Africans, let us start celebrating a continent free of corruption and oppression. A continent with respect for human rights and justice. Fellow Africans, let us start celebrating a continent free of tribal, ethnic, and religious conflict. Fellow Africans, let us start celebrating a continent free of gross irresponsibility, a continent with a sense of reasoning and tolerance. God bless Africa. Amen. Thank you.